Is it that one, or it's this one? No, you don't have to hold it. You can just push it and then unpush it. All right, I am going to call this meeting to the Monona Grove School District Board of Education to order at 7:03 p.m. Has there been a declaration of public notice? Yes. Thank you, Tish. Any adjustments to order of business? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up is Celebration of Excellence. And we have some Monona Grove High School youth here to talk about summer athletic camp. So come on up, floor is yours. Gentlemen. And yeah, if you could, there's a button on there to push, otherwise the stream can't hear you.
We good? All right. Hello, my name is Ryan Kleppe. I am a physical education teacher at Winneco School. I'm also an assistant football coach with Monona Grove Football, and I assist with the strength and conditioning program at the high school. Currently, right now, we offer weight room hours after school, usually November all the way through the summer. And this summer we had, I believe, almost 200 kids come through, all sports, primarily working with football. Program that we set up, kind of our philosophy, a lot of the tenets are about kind of realizing and reaching your potential. Providing open weight room hours at school is equitable for people who don't have transportation. We try to work through players that can provide rides for each other, and also students that don't have the means to be able to have a gym membership. So I feel like I try to work with the Wisconsin High School Strength and Conditioning Association and a lot of colleagues to keep professional development up so that our program is comprehensive, applies to a lot of sports. I work with Jackie Landry, our licensed athletic trainer at the high school, to work through accommodations for injury prevention, and then also making sure that our kids are injury-free in their sports, not just football as well. Accountability, being there on time, making sure that you're prepared, cleaning up the room, leaving it better. We always say we sweep the sheds. If you learn about the New Zealand All Blacks rugby team, they talk about sweeping the sheds, which is, again, the older players leave it better than they got there to teach the young kids about what our standards are. And then future growth. We track everything. If you can touch the next slide quick. A lot of our methods, we try to incorporate cutting edge methods, making sure that our kids are recovering quickly. We track a lot of stuff. So we track all of our workouts through an iPad. I can see what they've done from last year, November, all the way through now. We track sprints, jumps, lifts. We worked with our booster club and Mr. Schneider to be able to provide some technology to be able to then continue to be at the cutting edge to provide our kids with great opportunities to maximize their performance. And so if you just go to the next slide quick. So I have a spreadsheet there that has all of our information that I've tracked all the way from the beginning of November till now, and it will continue to go through the season. And we're all about recording, ranking, and publishing. So we put things out there. It allows kids to be it's kind of positive peer pressure that they can continue to be pushed to. It also promotes what they've done as well. So putting a lot on social media and being able for them to just maintain our records. And it's kind of just cool to see. And then lastly, some of the technology that we've provided. If you go, I think to the next one there. So laser jump systems. I know this is kind of just, we're diving deep into it, but I kind of get excited about it. So laser jump systems, we can measure bar velocity, so how quickly you can move loads to make sure kids are staying safe within ranges. And then also a laser timing system so we can measure some different speed metrics and be able to, again, continue to be competitive with other sports around our area. And then lastly, some of our students. So we're going to see which one of our students really wants to talk tonight.
The answer is
Nick?
yes, everybody.
Yes. Beautiful. There we go. You learn something new every day. I'm going to let our students just say a couple of brief words about what this program has meant to them, and then we will wrap it up. So thank you. This is Nick Gallagher. Here you go. Come talk right here.
Senior football player, powerlifter. Oh, okay. There we go. Do I need to press anything?
Nope, you're all good.
All right, my name's. All right, cool.
You can sit down too. There you go.
All right, my name's Nick Gallagher. I'm a senior at Monona Grove High School. I'm a football player and powerlifter. I actually took 5th at state in powerlifting last year, so lifting's a huge part of my life. And what's great about summer lift for me, and lift throughout the whole school year, was really just going in there with the guys and building that team chemistry that we have now, that we can take out to the field, and just really pushing ourselves to the max was awesome. And I mean, as you can tell, Kleppy poured a ton of time into this, with all this technology, all this great stuff. So he really cares about us succeeding on the field, off the field. So I learned a lot, built a lot of character. It was overall a great experience. I'll powerlift again this winter, hopefully win state, place top 3. So, and a lot of that will come from all the work that we put in together and that Kleppy helped me with. So.
What are you lifting there? Like how many pounds is
I'm
that?
squatting 500 pounds and benching 385 pounds.
We missed an opportunity to set up like bench press a school board member for this event.
Yeah.
Let me know. We can set that up.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, can we have a little like board volunteer only training session? I think it's really cool.
Yes. All right.
Thank you. All right, who's next?
It's me, Dilo. Hello, I'm Xavier Denman. I'm a senior at Monona Grove High School. I'm a wrestler and a football player. The weight room has positively impacted me by just making me more stronger and agile overall. I was also battling a few injuries coming into summer lift, and a lot of the exercise we do helps with form and all that, so helped me become uninjured. And I think it positively impacted the team by just what he said, building that team chemistry overall. Like waking up at 6 in the morning every day throughout summer, it does kind of suck, but you're doing it with the team. So it really just made a lot of team unity and just built that team chemistry.
My name's Jackson Fassel. I play football and throw track and field. Honestly, the weight room since winter has been very positively affecting because it's just somewhere to go after school and not just sit at home and do nothing. It just gives you something to work towards and then build strength and muscle for the upcoming season or whatever you're doing. There's been a lot of growth in not just seniors and juniors, but also sophomores and freshmen there's more and more of. This year we had to have 3 groups to fit them all.
Yeah, almost 130 football players this summer. So.
I know when I started there wasn't nearly as many kids, so just that, what was it you said, the building?
Yeah, building that camaraderie.
Yeah. From the seniors above us, it helped a lot. But yeah, just building that team aspect with everyone.
Mason, I think you're next. Yeah.
My name is Mason Maybe. I do MG football and baseball. I would say the gym is really important to me. The last 2 years, freshman and sophomore years of baseball, I broke my back and my ankle, and so I saw a lot of my lower body numbers were just not very good, I guess, just lower. And especially this off season, I was able to get healthy again, and just all those numbers jumped up. And I think for each person solely, it's just really important to see, or it's really beneficial to track progress and just see that self-improvement. I think can be really good to individuals, and then as well as with the team aspect, and lifting towards the end of last school year, it's a bunch of different younger kids. It's us older guys can kind of just show them the way and what's right, and they can kind of learn some things from us, and their numbers have went up a lot. I just think it's really beneficial for everyone, just keeping the school community closer together, and it can just help a lot with self-improvement. And in the summer, when you wake up early and you get it lifted in the morning, you can feel really good throughout the day. Instead of just sitting on your phone in bed till 11, which is what I would do if I'm not going there on the weekends. You kind of feel like your day's unproductive, and so at least you're doing something, and then when you're tracking your progress, you can feel proud of yourself. And I just think it's really beneficial in that way.
Hello, I'm D'Angelo Clay. I'm a football player and a wrestler. I actually got third. I placed third in state in wrestling.
Who's also the conference football defensive player of the year as a sophomore. So.
Yes. Thank you. The weight room impacted me. I feel like, I was weak. I always felt like I was weak. I always felt like I wasn't fast enough. I feel like I always come in with a chip on my shoulder, and this season, I feel like, especially this season, I guess, or whatever, I definitely proved a lot. And knowing that, I feel like I connect more with my teammates than I ever, a stronger bond than I ever did, build that team chemistry, and it just getting me prepared, mentally, because, the football season fun kick in. Now I built the confidence where I know I ain't gotta be scared of who I gotta go against. And now I know I have brothers with me too that all attacking the same goals as I am too. So yeah, I feel like it just benefits you both ways, strength wise, and just get to know everybody, the coaches, definitely. And I appreciate it. And then Clebby spent a lot of time, looking at depth charts or trying to build a team together. So I appreciate everybody. Yep.
I really appreciate you all sharing not just obviously the physical benefits, right? You're lifting, you're getting stronger, those pieces, but also some of the mental health benefits too around, connecting with people and also building confidence, right? Some of those things I think can make a huge, huge difference. So I'm glad that you're being able to be models for your peers too, especially the ones that are coming in to high school who are just trying to figure it out, and you can be there being knock that off, do more of this, do less of this.
Yeah, and I think and I appreciate the opportunity to speak about this, and I'm very passionate about it. As an athlete, I felt like the weight room was a foundational. I had coaches that poured into me when I was in high school and college, and it's a great conduit to really fortify you as a person and find out a lot about you and build that confidence as you navigate a lot of things in life, right? Like you just spoke about people coming into high school. Our freshmen incoming, this is the first experience of being in high school. So it's what is our standard, right? Are we representing MG and with the pride, tradition, and excellence that we really expect, right? How you talk, how you treat people, how you show up, how you are in the community. You're all representing that MG with a ton of pride, and we take that very seriously. And so that's something where we can build that confidence and give them a great kind of starting spot, right, of being able to kind of know the building and know the expectations before they go, and then be leaders in the school, not just during football, but at different events out in the community, so that we really are proud of what we're building.
Questions? Yeah, Rochelle.
How do you track how many students use the weight room? Because it seems like it's pretty heavily used after school throughout the year, isn't it?
I mean, I can go back and look at I mean, I haven't calculated during the school year. It's tougher during sports seasons just because, again, we push kids to be in multiple sports. And so you have we only offer it after school. Obviously, it would be nice to offer multiple times, but again, it's staffing, it's family balance, et cetera. And so right now, it's still probably, during the winter, it was a little bit low because a lot of kids play basketball, a lot of kids do wrestling, a lot of kids do hockey around here. So it was probably in that 30 to 40 per day range. During the spring, a little bit higher. And then during the summer, there's 3, I think there's 4 sessions. And so primarily football in some of the first sessions, but we offer it for all sports. So there's kids in all sports that are there. And then there's another session that has, again, different genders, different sports, different ability levels. And then we can kind of layer different, based on our equipment, right? It's all about what we have. We can layer the complexity of things based on their ability levels and kind of, graduate them to the next level if they feel comfortable based on dumbbell, barbell, and then tweak it to make sure we're leaving safely as well and doing things correctly.
I noticed on your sheet, there are some women on the sheet, but not very many. Are there more than just a few that use the weight room?
So I have not tracked. So Josh Hahn, who's a teacher at the high school and helps with the weight room, also helps coordinate a group that is a last session, which is a little bit more, I guess, like gender-wise, a little bit more equal in terms of numbers there. And so there's a little bit, we have offered them to be along with us in different sessions, but again, spacing, we want to make sure that we have, based on how many different stations we have in there, we want to cap different numbers. So we've kind of bumped and opened up sessions, and then kids have the freedom to sign up for different things, and knowing what different sports are at, different groups maybe go with a later session just because it's, maybe they're more comfortable doing that, but it's not anything that we say, this has to be a football only session, you know what I'm saying? But it's primarily football. That's just how it is right now in the summer. But we do offer multiple sessions for kids for different sports and different genders.
I appreciate you asking that question, Janice, because I was wondering that too. And this maybe is a future conversation, Joe, with you around how do we create spaces where our female identifying athletes, go in and experience strength training too. Maybe not alongside the football folks.
But I think
because it could feel intimidating,
the offering piece where, and Josh works with all sport teams too out of season. So Josh is training a lot of he was just with the girls tennis team today. So I mean, he's with different sports offering that at whatever works for their schedule. And so I think, and we've talked about it too, getting aligned in terms of the tracking piece that the structure of the workout can apply to any sport. So it's not everybody can benefit from loaded jumps, from throws, from sprints. That could be across all, and that's what I don't want it to be just, I think the sport, we want to get away from that sport specific because what does that mean, right? You know?
Yeah.
So I think the foundational pieces can apply to a lot of different areas. That would be great. I mean, it'd be great to have 6 sessions. It'd be great to have, I know school districts have an evening session somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's staffing, it's, it's making sure that compensation, staffing, timing, work, everything. So I think those are things that would be definitely worth a conversation.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan.
I really appreciate all of you coming tonight and talking about this. And I have to tell you, there were 2 things that really stood out. At least 3 of you used the word family when you were talking about working together and making this something that you could do together. Here's the other thing you talked about was the healthcare piece about I was injured and I was able to work and get better, or I was able to work around that. And And those are really impressive global things with you getting exposure at this age. And by the way, I did buy 10 football cards.
Boom. I think that's why you show up is why they're doing the work, right? Like, that's why you show up. Like, again, we just had 2 of these guys over at my house before we came over. They're hanging with my kids. I love these guys. Like, that's why you do it, right? And I think the healthcare part too, I always use the phrase, again, I stole it from somebody, they say, don't burn the steak. So it's pushing them to the point of where they get growth, but also making sure that we leave them in a place where they're recovered and they can continue to have maximal output and be on the field. So that's our goal. And Jackie Landry, best athletic trainer in the state. We are incredibly fortunate. If you ever be in contact with her, she is phenomenal. And we work hand in hand with making sure that rehab is in tune, getting them back. We can adjust things. And that's teaching, that's coaching, and they just keep coming back. So it's easy to show up when they keep putting in the time. So.
Yeah, I am really impressed with all of the number of athletes that, like, I'm looking at these spreadsheets and I'm like, this is so cool. So that you only have 5 people here, you probably could have had 50 people here. So I'm just really impressed with all of this. And I love looking up there and seeing 2 former students as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to put in, to have a lot of people buy in and trust you, and you want to provide results for them. So, I mean, that's the part, is you want the time to be worth it. So, so that's why you do it. It's not easy sometimes. It's a lot of time entering stuff. I mean, you leave being there for 4 or 5 hours, and it's another hour or 2 at night after you put your kids to bed. But you have groups that are there that count on you, and that's why you do it. So thank you for the time very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for all of your work in putting this together.
Yeah.
And thank you, gentlemen, for coming today. Good luck with your season this year. We look forward to seeing some wins.
All right, you bet. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I really want a board workout day. I think it would be really fun. Could be like a good bonding day. We'll have to publicly notice it, though. That's the problem. If we had a board workout day, if we had a quorum, then we'd have to publicly notice it.
Yes, you would.
All right, next up, we have 2 celebrations of excellence today. The National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association recognition. Hello, Joe. Hello. How are you today? I know, it makes you feel good, right? It's a good program.
It is. One thing I did want to follow up, like we talked about female participation in the weight room, foreshadowing the activities athletics report, I actually thought our female participation was up significantly this past summer. Session 4, which Ryan Kleppe wasn't there for, was filled with students who identify as female in there. But that'll be some numbers that I'll break down, and I know we're looking at the school year too, trying to get that to be a more welcoming culture for all. So. So I'm here tonight to talk about the NIAAA award that our athletic department will be receiving this upcoming year. I don't know where I'm going to go with this or how the presentation is, so follow along with me on this journey as far as I talk. I have sat all weekend and tried to figure out how do I talk about this in a coherent way, and I've struggled because it's massive, and I'll just start at the beginning. I remember sitting in my recliner at my family's cabin I think over Thanksgiving weekend in 2023, and I read this article through the NIAAA magazine talking about the QPA and how wonderful it is and how it really helped them really examine their athletic department. And I remember looking at it, and it piqued my interest, mainly because I was like, well, reading it, that seems like something I could do, something our athletic program is worthy of getting and whatnot. And what intrigued me the most is at the time I was like, well, nobody in Wisconsin's ever done it. Like, why? So then I started going down that path. Pewaukee beat me to it. So in the middle of the path, they beat me to being first. But going down that path, then you have to take this 4-hour webinar class in order to be eligible. Then you have to be accepted into the cohort. And then it's an 18-month commitment with these Monday night monthly meetings of about an hour and a half over Zoom. And like seeing the idea of it was one thing. And then when they were like, hey, here it is, it's another. It's like, did anybody go through, like any teachers through the PDP process and like that massive portfolio? it was like that, but way more intense and a lot more scrutiny through the whole thing. So that's kind of how we got to this particular point. So the NIAAA is kind of that leading organization through for interscholastic athletic administration, basically trying to lead the charge on professional development and really pushing education-based athletics. What the QPA program is, it's a quality program assessment. What it does is dissects your athletic program into 10 key areas that they take a look, and you have to provide evidence-based documentation in those 10 key areas that also include subcategories for every single one. And then assessors go through it and score it. And essentially, if you want to achieve exemplar status, there's some nuance to it, but for the most part, you got to reach an 80% or better on all of your categories. Which brings me here tonight to say that Monona Grove Athletic Department has received exemplar status after going through all of that, which would make us the second time in state history that a school in Wisconsin has essentially achieved this recognition. So the programs that it goes through are essentially those different categories that it looks at are philosophy, educational compatibility, mentoring staff and student leaders, program safety and risk management, communication, program access and equity, budget and supplementary fundraising, personnel and program assessment, technology, sports medicine, which I got to echo with Ryan Kleppe said. Jackie Landry is an incredible athletic trainer, and we are so blessed to have her here at Monona Grove. Really helped us out in that category, and I'm always amazed when I ask her for things and she is on it, as well as innovation and creative leadership strategies. So it goes through, takes a look at all of those, and you got to provide, like I said, the evidence that not only that it exists in your program, but evidence that you're actually doing it. Like I said, really rewarding process to go through, really challenged, I think, our athletic department, as well as me as an athletic administrator. But really, it's a program-wide award. Like, our ability to receive exemplar status is because of the coaches that we have on staff. It's because of our students willing to take leadership opportunities and really continue to push this program forward. Even on there, I think it says we had standout marks in technology and whatnot. Even looking at it today, I actually thought some of our strongest feedback we received was in philosophy, mentoring staff and student leaders, as well as communication and program access and equity. And with that being said, I was even looking at areas where we still have room to grow. And that was part of it. Part of this journey is starting it. If there's something that we're missing in our athletic department, or is there something that we could be doing better, I want to know what it is, and I want to start making progress to it, which ultimately kind of drives where we hopefully go here in the next so many years. So that's what I'm here to announce, is we got a little Silver Eagle pride. We'll be recognized on the national stage, and I knew it when I started here. We're being recognized on the national stage because we're Monona Grove and we should. So there's that.
Congratulations. Questions or comments? Yeah, Philip.
Yeah, so first, congratulations. This is really awesome. My question is, you mentioned, obviously this is an award that took the whole team, right? Everybody involved. To what degree are they aware of this? The coaches and the assistant coaches and, everybody who's played a role.
I was a little cagey about it. So
Okay.
because I didn't necessarily know, I was pretty confident we could get exemplar status, but I didn't know. So a lot of times, coaches might be now drawing the connection of when I was like, hey, you got to practice progression on this particular thing. You'd be able to show me. It's not a trick. It's not a trap. Just wondering if you got it or whatnot. So it was a lot of questions like that. I never, within the last week, people are starting to kind of see that it's on social media and whatnot. But I was not necessarily, luckily I've built relationships with coaches to where when I'm asking for things and whatnot, I tend to get them. I was not necessarily telling them, hey, we're working towards a national award here. It was more so, and it's also stuff we should be doing. So sometimes It was like, yeah, I need this for documentation. So.
Other questions or comments? I have a couple, but yeah, you go, Tanya.
I just have to say, since I got here, you continually show up and take on things that are not expected of you. So this isn't in your job description, but it's a really high quality program, and you've continued to take on different leadership roles, being able to just that dedication and excellence. And so we're very lucky to have you, and thank you for just stepping up and taking on things that are really highlight the great work that happened between your coaches and you and your athletes and families. So thank you.
Yeah, I wanna echo that, Joe. I think, and I think I've shared some of this with you before, but I distinctly remember my first meeting on the board where you presented athletics and activities report, and just your constant eye towards excellence and continuous improvement in that is incredible. And then, was it last year or 2 years ago where you got the award and you were here for it?
Which one?
So
if you're, assuming you're talking about the Inside Out Award, I believe that was June of 24.
24, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, right? And thinking about how our student athletes are like whole people, and what does it mean to have, whole people student athletes? What does it mean to have coaches that are really on board with coaching philosophy, right? All of these things that I think are what youth sports are all about. Obviously, you want wins, right? You want to be good, you want to be competitive, but at the end of the day, it's really about developing whole people, and youth sports is a great way to do that. And so just re-echoing what Tanya had said, I feel like you always show up here with one more excellence with an eye towards how to become excellenter, which I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible. So congratulations and thank you. We're grateful to have you here.
Appreciate it. I was also kind of echoing what you said. What it brought me a lot of joy too is like with the weight room presentation, them talking about like their physical gains are great, but there's also other things that they're getting, and that's continually the focus.
Yeah. So. Is this something that we reapply for on like a regular basis, or is it just like one time you get it and then you're like, I'm excellent, and so I can?
I've never seen anyone do this twice.
Okay. Okay.
But I think it's a one-time deal. I was actually kind of wondering that a little bit of like, what's the cycle on that? Because I would assume leadership changes and whatnot, and there's got to be another round at some point that you
so
want
like
to
we
go
were
through.
excellent in 2025, but then 10 years from now, are we still excellent, right?
Well, right, and a lot of things change in 10 years.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again. Yeah, go ahead, Janice.
I was also going to say I really appreciate that this is about all the sports, and that even in looking through the slideshow that you have a lot of different sports represented. So I appreciate seeing that our excellence is in multiple sports and multiple ways of showing it. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Well, that was delightful. So, are we going to celebrate this excellence too while we're on the topic of awards?
Let's do it.
Go ahead, Tanya.
All right. So yesterday, was it just yesterday?
It was just yesterday.
We had the privilege of accepting an award for the focus on energy, partnering with Wisconsin Utilities, and it is the 2025 Energy Efficiency Excellence Award, and we are one of 11 entities in the state of Wisconsin that got this, primarily around efforts around sustainability. Peter Sobel led sustainability and energy efficiency committee for many years in his role on the board, and this is accumulation of that work. So had the opportunity yesterday to receive that from the energy commissioner, and then also Representative Sheila Stubbs was there and gave us a commemoration. Yeah. So it should be on the news tomorrow or Thursday, the story on, I think, Channel 27.
Oh, it's on now, Katie? Oh, great. Oh, great. We will send the link around so everyone can see it.
We were able to reach out to Peter and share that the award came through, and thank him for everything he did to be able to do that. We have the largest array of solar panels on in the state of Wisconsin on our high school.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Okay. Wow. I just feel it's like a great celebration. All right, public appearances. We have 2 today. First up, Sue is back with us again. Sue Carr, come on up. I just get handed to them in the order with which they are. Number 1, Sue Carr. I mean, you can defer your time if you want to go second.
Oh, it's whoever hands them to me
It's a race to Tish is what it is. All right, welcome, Sue. Just push the button, and when the red light comes on, it is on. It's a little person button. Do you see it? There.
Person button. I got it. Okay. This month, I'm going to talk very fast and say nothing nice. A month ago, I was here to express my concerns about the use of screen time in our schools, particularly my concern about non-instructional time on screens in our schools from grades 4K to 3. At the end of the meeting, a couple of comments were made by school board members, which I would like to address. First, Tanya included in her report some statistics that she shared with you as a result of her surveying the staff. I want to be very clear that our concerns are not about instructional programs. We are not questioning iReady or any of the other things that the district has chosen. We are talking about YouTube, games, TV shows, full-length movies, and ASMR videos. One of the things that Tanya brought up was that, yes, the flat panel screens are on most of the day. My question would be why? One of our board members equated it to a previous chalkboard. I disagree with that. Can we teach our teachers to turn the screen on when they need it for academic reasons and turn it off when it is not needed? There are often things happening on the screen in the background which can be very hard for kids of ours who are neurodivergent or who struggle with attending to their tasks. Additionally, a board member brought up the fact that it's a frequent thing to have reward day where you can bring your device to school. For me, that raised all kinds of red flags from an equity standpoint. I believe that in the past, this district has been very aware and proactive about issues about kids who cannot afford to do the things that their peers can do. And I have always appreciated that. And I hope we can get back to that. Another comment that was made was that if something is happening on the screen, reading a book, yoga, a movie, the teacher is participating right along with the students. That's great. But I want to be clear that there's a vast difference in the relationship building between student and teacher when the teacher is sitting in front of the class reading a book and when the students and teachers are sitting together watching a book being read on a screen. Finally, I would just narrow down my ask to some very simple things, and I hope tonight you can all decide to take some next steps to address this. Number 1, eliminate screens during lunch and snack. Very important time for eating, health, and mental health to facilitate conversations and discussions and social time between kids. No use of YouTube, especially YouTube with ads. No screens as rewards, and no bringing devices to school as a reward. Additionally, training for staff about ways to accomplish the things they want to do. Brain bakes, sensory experiences, rewards, timers, books, all those things that are great things, but they can be done without screens. I appreciate you listening to me. I am anxious to hear about the next steps. I know that there are parents out there who are ready, willing, and able to help you form a policy that can be implemented, and I am one of them. I would love to hear the next steps. Boom, inside 3 minutes.
Thank you, Sue. Great job.
Oh. Questions?
Yes. Is there anyone that has any questions for Sue? Great.
See you in September.
Thank you, Sue. Next up for public comment is Lydia Bertram. Welcome back, Lydia.
Thank you.
Oh, and it looks like Sue left the microphone on for you.
Oh, perfect. Look at that. All right. All right. Hi again, everyone. I'm speaking today about the opportunities available to advanced learners in our district. I'm an advanced learning instructor and board member for a Madison-based educational nonprofit, as well as the mother of an advanced learner. My oldest child consistently tests in the 99th percentile for reading and the 98th percentile for math, and yet last year received no support or additional opportunities beyond his classroom teacher and a folder of busy work. I made multiple inquiries last year of other parents, of our board president, of the GRS advanced learning teacher, and of the classroom teacher. It seems this is standard procedure for Monona Grove. In reviewing the advanced learning web pages for our board identified comparable districts, I found we're an outlier in this. McFarland and Middleton Cross Plains both use their advanced learning web pages to list the many, many opportunities available to their advanced learners. By contrast, our web page contains academic jargon, including identification, equity, and Wisconsin state statutes. All items I found rather rich, considering our students are receiving an equal education, not an equitable one that meets each student's individual needs, and the district is violating said state statute in failing to meet those needs. As a board, this discrepancy should absolutely concern you, not just due to the violation in statutes, but also because the lack of services is having a direct impact on our test scores. I've spoken with more than one parent who watched their child, once in the 90+ percentile, receive a reduced score the following semester. Not a reduced percentile, a reduced score, as in they actually performed worse later in the year. Not a summer slide, but a school year slide due to apathy and boredom. By failing to challenge our students, you are failing them. What are our children going to do when they go to college and they've never been challenged, never had to take notes or study? I will acknowledge that my child is only entering 4th grade, and so would be content to wait if I believed there were more opportunities coming in middle school. Unfortunately, between conversations with frustrated MG middle and high school parents and my review of the website, I have significant doubts that will be the case. It is my hope that under our new directors of teaching and learning, our advanced learners will finally receive the services available in comparable districts. I also expect that with increased class sizes, our advanced learning teachers will be given the opportunity to work directly with their identified students, rather than being used merely as professional development resources. Finally, I request that the Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee address this issue and ensure an equitable, not equal, education for all of our students. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing the changes our district makes to support our advanced learners.
Thank you, Lydia. Yes, Susan.
Thank you. One thing that would be helpful, and I've already done this, if that's helpful for you to have as well, but and it sounds like you've already done a major part of that, researching the statutes and the DPI regulations.
Yes, I am a board member of an advanced learning organization.
That's great. And we made up a grid and tried to review this program with the administrator that was in charge. And one of the things
Susan,
that would be
do you
great.
have a question for Lydia?
Yes.
Thank you.
So have you had an opportunity, there are 2 people sitting right here that will be great resources for you. One is Elizabeth Cook, who is a great resource for me when I was struggling to get additional information. So have you had a chance to talk to
Yes,
Elizabeth?
we've emailed back and forth.
Okay, and Tanya?
Yes, and Tanya and I
That's
have
great.
spoken, but
Okay.
we've not had a meeting yet.
Great, that's helpful to know, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Rochelle.
And I am going to make sure we cover this in TLE this year. So we will be, and I'll try to reach out to you when we have the agenda for the year, and so you can see what meetings you want to make sure you come to.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
For sure.
This has been an ongoing conversation, Lydia, for TLE for the last several years, and so I agree, and I think that your point around change in administrative leadership will make a difference. Also, happy to connect with you, like mom to mom, about navigating the system with advanced learners, because it is not an easy thing to navigate.
Absolutely.
Other questions? Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you so much.
I did the thing that I told you guys not to do. So that's public appearances. Moving on to action items. The first one is policy updates, the F&O second reading. So we talked about these policies at our last board meeting, and now we're looking for board action on them. Philip, do you want to tee up anything with these?
Yeah, so these haven't changed since last month. We didn't really have any questions last month on these. I think these were all pretty straightforward. There's a different policy that we took back for some revisions, and that's going to come up in first read because the committee had a chance to review that one. But these are the same as they were last month. But if anyone does have questions now, I'm certainly happy to answer them.
Great.
I move approval of the finance and operation policy update as presented.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Yes, Susan.
I just had, oh, thank you. I had, she's my trainer. Thank you. I had a question about the resource information accumulated for the policy in relation to the students with disabilities. And that was in 8600, transportation.
Okay. What is your, I have it pulled up now, Susan, so curious your question there.
Basically, I was just kind of looking for I mean, it's a whole section, And
Are you talking about the section that defines, when they talk about students with disability, they mean students
Yes.
who are entitled
Yes.
to special transportation? So specialized transportation is an IEP-driven service.
right, I wondered if there was a is there a DPI regulation?
Oh, like
or
why is that the addition this year?
statute, Or,
Tanya, do you have a sense of why we had to explicitly call out specialized transportation in this policy?
These revisions are all driven by Neola, who reviews federal and state statute. So these were Neola recommended changes. So either language changed in federal or state statute to require that language within the policy. These aren't driven
So-
by administration.
So basically so the changes in this section were recommended by Neola?
Correct.
Okay, and that was based on, often it's statutory change or?
It's either statutory changes or federal changes or just recommendations to make things clear. I don't have that background right now, but I can provide it to you as to what their rationale was for that change.
Okay.
I can answer that. It was recommended because we didn't have it specifically called out that under IDEA, specialized transportation in an individual educational plan is required. So it talks about private school, it talks about our own transportation. It doesn't specifically call out the federal and state requirement to do that. So this just adds it for clarity.
Great. Again, just giving the background on the resource where the recommended changes, because again, what we're seeing now is coming from Finance Committee. And so that's totally answers my question. I appreciate that.
Great, thank you, Susan. Other questions at all? Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do voice vote, if that sounds good. Sorry, I keep looking both ways because usually you're all on both sides. We're only on this side, so it's very strange. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, wellness policy, second reading. And I'm not sure, Janice, if you're teeing this one up or any changes since our last?
There's no changes since the last reading, so.
Great.
Yeah.
I move approval of policy number 8510 updated as presented.
Second.
Great, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, revised job descriptions for licensed personnel.
So we are going through the process of bringing forward all of our certified job descriptions throughout the course of the next year to bring them up to date. Make sure that they're aligned with best practices, but also in alignment of what the job looks like in 2025. We did bring this forward last week or last month as a discussion item and haven't had any questions since then, and so happy to answer any that would be now.
I don't have a question necessarily, but I appreciate all this work that you've put in because I think it really is very appropriate for each of those positions and very clearly defined. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. HR is working through that, and so they send them out to the people who have those jobs, get their feedback, then they go to the people that supervise those, and then it comes back to HR, then Kristen and I look at them, and then they come here. So very collective process.
I move approval of the revised job description for licensed personnel as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Yes, Susan.
I'm sorry, I have one question. Is the MG21 school director position, is that new? Because that was a new position. So I just wanted to validate that the material that's written in here is effectively new.
Yes, if you look at the top, it will say created or revised July 1 and then board approved. There's no previous time on it, so bringing that up to speed.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, coordinator contracts transition to employment letters.
We currently have 3 coordinators that have annual contracts, and an effort to streamline our different employee categories. The recommendation would be to move them from annual contract to an initial employment letter. These are non-represented staff, and all of the items that are in their letters are all in the handbook. So it's just a matter of improving consistency across the groups and not having, a group of 3 sort of out there to create these contracts each year. We did talk about it at the Personnel Committee. They recommended to move it forward to the board.
Can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll move approval of transitioning from contracts to employment letters for the 3 coordinators beginning in 26-27.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Susan?
Yeah, I just had.
Oh, Susan. Thank you,
Nope,
Stephanie.
turned it on, then turned it off. Basically, I was just wondering about the perception of how this, generally when you get a letter, it's an employment letter, it's an offer. And generally when you're in an employment environment and they're talking about a letter, it fits into the definition of an offer. So I just wanted clarification on, basically we're actually going to substitute this letter for a contract.
Correct. These are positions that aren't covered under 118.15 or 118.81 for administrator contracts.
Okay.
And so the fact that they have a contract is odd because it isn't in state statute. It's not a position that is covered.
Okay.
State statute does outline those specific positions that receive administrator contracts. So it's also putting us in line with, how state statute reads with regard to teacher contracts and administrator contracts. And these would shift these employees to our non-represented groups and how we handle all of those employees with an employment letter. Every year, those employees do get a compensation letter, but all of their benefits are outlined in the support staff handbook.
Oh, thank you very much. Again, if I just had the statutory reference, I wouldn't have stopped you with the question, but thanks a lot. Thank you.
Other questions? I just have one, which is the staff that are moving potentially to this, are they notified? Are they aware?
Not, are they? Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
talked to them.
Okay, great. All right, yes, Janice?
Well, and were there concerns?
Oh, good follow-up.
I think that it was just explaining to them that every year the contract doesn't, I think we talked about this last time, a letter of employment is that initial offer, and they don't really fall under that non-renewal language of the state statute. So explaining that to them, that they're non-represented, it didn't not make sense.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we've been moved and seconded, right? Are we good with voice vote on this? Yes. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, moving on to discussion items. First discussion item we have is the 2024-2025 School Resource Officer Year in Review. Welcome.
So while they're getting situated, I will just share that per our MOU.
What? She's not coming up?
Oh.
You're not coming up? All right.
She's gonna sit in the back, peanut gallery. So according to our school resource officer policy and also our memorandum of understanding, annually the school resource officers will give a update to the board, which will include areas of opportunities as they're moving forward. In addition, as you know, we have a new school and safety and security officer, Rachel Martin, and so at the end there'll be an opportunity for her to introduce herself as well. All right, so I will turn it over to the team.
Yes, and although I think everyone on the board knows you, I'll ask you all three to introduce yourselves, just so folks that are watching on YouTube know who you are, just in case they don't.
We have a slide for that.
Well, far be it from me to jump on your presentation, so you go.
Who are we? First and foremost, I'm Officer Luke Wunsch of the Monona Police Department. Worked there, have 20 years of law enforcement experience, and just completed year 9 as an SRO with the district.
And then I'm Zenas Leo with the Cottage Grove Police Department. I have 3 years of experience with the police job, and then last year was my first year as a school resource officer.
There's a slide for that, but it's later on. Okay, we'll get to it. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm Rachel Martin. Let me get to my slide. It's in there. Okay, I'm Rachel Martin. I was 10 years in law enforcement previously. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from UW-Platteville before that. Originally come from Middleton. I now live up in Columbia County with my kids and my husband there. Thank you. Yeah, we spend a lot of time on the boat during the summer, so it's a pastime of ours. So, okay, go ahead.
All right, so we are tasked here to give you kind of a brief overview of what happened throughout the year. For any of you that know me, there's a lot of new faces up there. I could talk all night, so we're going to try to keep it brief. To start with mine, and then we'll get Officer Zio talk. I have a couple programs in place. The Where's Wunsch, which is lunch down at the elementary level. Kids can come in. I'm sorry, that's the wrong program. Where's Wunsch is at the high school. So encourage students and families to come engage with me at extracurricular events. So I take time out of my day to go to see them, like our athletes that were here earlier, doing what they do and what they excel at outside of the classroom. Encourage them to come talk to me, and when they do that, they get entered into a drawing where they can win free lunch, or this year we have a parking stall for them for one lucky candidate. We have Lunch with Wunsch, which is at the elementary level. Give me an opportunity to engage with them and show them a different side of law enforcement, not in a full uniform, but to get them more comfortable with that. I am also very involved in the school. I think Susan said it earlier with the students and saying that they make that family. That is really a lot of what I feel that my job is making the school part of my family, part of my workforce, right? So I am very involved. I'm a fishing club advisor, the sole fishing club advisor. I am a co-advisor for the ski and snowboard club, so kind of covers all the seasons. I am also a Stop the Bleed instructor, so we have done Stop the Bleed training, mass casualty Stop the Bleeding for staff, both in the community, for the city of Monona, and for the school district, and we hope to continue that. I am also an ALICE certified instructor, which is the active threat countermeasures that we used to do before we moved to standard response protocol. I am also last year, I joined the SRO steering committee. So there is a conference every year in the state of Wisconsin, along with NCJTC and Fox Valley Technical College. So I was, I don't want to say appointed, but put onto the steering committee for that. So I plan the conference that happens every year. No, the next one is voluntold. The steering committee for Dane County School Safety Consortiums. So that is rather new. It's only been around for a couple years. And this year I was voluntold that they wanted a representative from the SROs of Dane County. And they nominated me. So I have that. So we work in close proximity with emergency management and then all other SROs within the county and other entities to try to bring safety to all of our schools. So whether that be guest speakers or training and knowledge or training safety, all that kind of stuff is happening. And then I know there's been questions in the past about the school board and the funding of the position and how that does and how it affects the communities. So I also work with both private schools within Monona and a couple of our churches. So Immaculate Heart of Mary and One City Schools, I work with both of them and their staff on safety and their active threat training for staff. Mainly they do most of the drills with students by themselves, but if they have questions or if they're having a drill and I'm available, I'll stop out and see if they have anything that they want to use me as a sounding board for. As far as involvements in the school, I figure pictures are worth 1,000 words. I could sit up here and beat you to death with bullet points, but that's not fun for anybody. So again, I go to a lot of activities. We got football. I traveled to watch the boys basketball continue into the playoffs. I was at National Walk to School Day at Winnequa and got our nice little picture there with Hootie. There's a picture of a few members of the fishing club. We went out to a youth event sponsored in McFarland and assisted their youth in their community with a fishing event. So helped them rig up poles, catch fish, take fish off lines, provide them some education on the species of fish that they may have caught, how to properly release it, and all that kind of good stuff. Z and I also attend all of the football games when we're available, and there was a pink out for the late Charlie Ping, one of our former staff members, and so we let the kids kind of decorate us up a little bit and give us a little extra garb. I do Shop with a Cop, which is an outside thing, but we have the opportunity to work with some of our youth at the Winnequa grade school level and give them a happy holiday season. And had another picture of the Lunch with Wunsch, so a couple kids came in, I brought them pizza, get to know them a little bit, kind of break the mood. We do state send-offs at the high school level for any of our athletic events that reach state. And so we do a police escort for them, one in front, one in rear, and the whole lights and siren, and they get to go through all the red lights. The kids really love it. Parents get photos. It's pretty unique. Not a lot of our counterparts do that. I have pretty good relationships with kids, in my opinion. I was asked to be a student's staff member at the girls' basketball game for Staff Appreciation Night. So I dressed up as her for the day, and she dressed up as me, and then I wore her shirt with her name on the back. I go over to Winnequa and play with the kids at recess when it's not inclement weather, because I'm a softie.
Fair weather.
Fair weather fan, yeah. And then the last picture I have on there that I haven't touched on yet was I got to go out to Marshall and watch them do their mock accident for their, I think they did it 8 through 12, where they did kind of focuses on distracted or impaired driving, and there's a crash, and then it kind of walks through that narrative about what happens. And we try to do that right around prom. So the hope, which you'll see in a later slide, is to try to bring that to MG this year to try to get that started. We could go through all kinds of stats, but I wanted to keep it super simple. So I had 308 official student contacts, and what that means is, like, I interact with kids and staff all day long, but this is like a closed door or an email where somebody says something and they want to meet. So 40% of those contacts were initiated by students versus, back in the 80s or 90s, it was police harassing kids, right? Like, that's not what we're trying to be about. We're trying to be that family and that soft approach. And so we want to build that rapport with them so that they want to come talk to us when things are happening or they see something that's out of the norm, right? That might be suspicious. So 40% of that, only 5% was actually officer initiated with enforcement, meaning that I saw something bad and it led to a ticket. So 5% out of 308. I'm not a mathematician, but it's not a lot. The next slide is just kind of an overall breakdown of like what kind of cases I was dealing with. So a lot of it is verbal counseling and then that rapport building. So being out in the school, making conversations with kids, going into classrooms, being at the extracurricular events, doing the community engagement pieces at the schools and out in the Cottage Grove community, even though I don't typically cover the Cottage Grove schools. A lot of those kids that go to the middle school live in Monona or come out here for sports, so I think it's important to see all of that. But that's a breakdown of kind of all of those stats. I will turn it over to Z.
And then so I'm the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander, also known as the AA NHPI Club Advisor. I also present for 6th graders. We call it the Day with Officer Z. Essentially what that happens there is it's a full day where I get to present to 6th graders in a health classroom. I teach and educate them about cybersecurity and what's the best practices with like social media and how to not get involved in sexting and it's how to appropriately record things and not record things, who is a safe adult person to go to. So they get to learn all that. I'm also a Stop the Bleed instructor. My involvement's not as impressive as Officer Wunsch, but with time. Yes.
We're grooming the future.
Eventually, hopefully. So these are my stats. I have 261 official student contacts. It's roughly 40.5% of those were student initiated throughout the school year. These don't include the encounters in the hallways, like fist bumps and high fives and recess playing, asking me to play like Foursquare. That happens a lot. So. Yeah. Oh. And then so here you can see the yellow. It's a lot of my interactions with the kids it's report building. It's very little where I'll have to like give them like a citation or anything like that. A lot has to just do getting to know the kids, getting that foundation where they trust me and they come to me if they do see something. They let me know, which has happened throughout the school year, which has been great and awesome. So.
One of the big things before we move to the next slide is the rapport building really prevents us from having to write citations typically. I can speak for myself, and I'm sure I can speak for Z, is we've had conversations with kids that are towing the line about doing something wrong or illegal, and you sit down and have a conversation with them and kind of give them that educational piece about here are the things that we need to correct so it doesn't go down this path and lead to that negativity, right? So, that rapport building, some of that doesn't necessarily show up. That might show up in a verbal counseling versus a rapport building, but it really is two in the same. Because I think that's a very important aspect of our job. We're not attempting to be punitive. There's a time and a place for that, but in my opinion, that's not what an SRO is designed for. So I just wanted to stress that.
I have a question, but you can go. No, you say.
Well, and I think one of the things that we continue to talk about from an SRO perspective is that community building. How do you create those relationships? And there are times, as you can see, when there are citations issued, kids make mistakes. Yeah. And when those things happen, both officers, I've experienced where, they'll sit down with the kids, they talk about what's next, what does going to court look like, how do you dress, how do you behave, how do you fix your wrong, right? How do you own it, how do you do better, so that it's not it's a learning experience, not just a discipline. So appreciate that part a lot about their work.
Yeah, I have a kind of a question about how the two of you collaborate, especially considering that we have students from both communities that transition back in and out, right? So you'll have your Winnequa students go to, GDS, and then the GDS students come back to Monona for high school, or maybe go to the Monona for the first time for school. So when you have particularly youth or families that may be at higher risk for involvement, kind of what does that handoff look like between the two of you?
Well, I would say with it being Z's first year, we met regularly, whether that was in person or over the phone, just kind of relaying like, hey, so-and-so was having some issues, or they're going on with this with their family, or they're doing with this, right? Like now they're coming to GDS, and so just want to make you aware. Maybe that's a good way to insert your foot, get that relationship, that foothold, build that rapport with them early, so that maybe we can try to help them or educate them through those difficult times. But I'd say there's a lot of communication. I would say we talk daily, if not multiple times a day. And some of that's with questions that one of us has, because, we're both cops and cops first, but there are things that he's dealt with or experienced that I haven't, and there's things that I've dealt with or experienced that he has not. So just kind of using each other as a sounding board to navigate some of those situations, I think is helpful. Yeah, go ahead.
We also have a lot of times where a student will live in Monona and then they actually go to GDS or come to one of the elementaries. When it's something that happens and I get information like that, I'm like, hey, I would give Luke a call or let Luke know that this family is doing this. They don't live in Cottage Grove. They attend school here, but they do live. So just so you can let your officers know or let you be aware that this is what's going on with that family. So.
I really appreciate that both of you are advisors of a club at one of the schools. I think that's really cool, and it's a great way for kids to get to know you, which is really awesome. Also, I didn't know we have a fishing club, so that's really cool, and yeah.
We just completed year 2, and to give a shout out to that, some of our kids that were pretty involved helped. I wrote a grant for, actually 2 grants over the last 2 years, so we got $1,000 donated. which the kids then get to pick some equipment that the club owns. So the school owns fishing equipment that they can use and check out whenever they want. So yes, we're hoping to maybe someday incorporate the middle school with that as well.
There used to be, with one of our previous PE teachers, I don't know, it was a fishing club, but back when we were at Winnequa, they could go like in Monona and go fishing. So at the middle school did have that at one point. So that would be awesome.
I just have a quick data question before we move on to the rest of this. When you guys are compiling your stats for your incident type, do you have the same pool of incident types that you are labeling these? I just noticed that GDS has 13.6 for disturbance and the high school does not. So I just didn't know if you guys were apples to apples labeling things kind of the same, or you did yours and Z did his.
You go ahead. You can talk first.
So mine changes a little bit because we don't really see the same incidents like parking complaints or parking tickets. Like you may
Right.
like I'm most likely never ever going to be giving a ticket because the kids don't drive. Yeah.
You never know.
So there are some differences. It's mainly because we don't see the same incidents.
But like
same types.
disturbance, for example, would you label a disturbance at the high school, or did you label those something different for your incident types? Is kind of just where my eyes were drawn.
Yeah, I believe I labeled those differently.
Okay.
So because a disturbance could mean several different things, in my opinion, you could have a verbal threat. You could have a physical assault.
Mm-hmm.
You could have different things. You could just have some plain basic harassment or bullying that may not, I guess, rise to the level of a disturbance, or like I don't know how to word it. Like they're a little different. They're not exactly the same.
I totally get it. I just this is super helpful to kind of see what's going on, and just maybe next year, if it was possible to have like similar apples to apples, so maybe have a block.
We use a Google form, so it's super easy for us to change that.
All right, so what are you thinking for next? I think that's your next slide, right?
So, yep, opportunities for improvement. I'm sure there are plenty because we are nowhere near perfect, but we would like to strengthen our communication lines with stakeholders. So that's staff, you guys, families, other entities within the community that we partner with, other communities, like, for example, we went down for the fishing club to McFarland and did that. That's because I have a great relationship with their SRO that works in their high schools, right? So just doing things like that, strengthening those communications will only make us better and improve us. We want to collaborate on student device monitoring for concerning searches. So like when kids are searching things on their school-issued Chromebooks that maybe illicit or explicit, but we're looking more for the harmful ones, the ones that we can get them off that pathway to violence and stop something before it happens. So we can get into that, again, that rapport building and those relationships that are going to help us prevent something tragic from happening. Again, I already talked about the mock crash and organizing that, so trying to get some of our students to engage in that. We're going to have, Officer Z doesn't know it yet, but he's going to narrate that for us this year. And so working, that's a big piece. Like there's a lot of moving parts that we want to bring to that. We want to have MedFlight come out. We want to work with our EMS. We want to work with Gunderson Funeral Home and some of our student clubs. I know you got some big eyes over there, but it'll all make sense when you see it come together.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I was having a conversation with someone who lives in the community recently, and we were just talking about how, do you remember around prom where it was like the Mothers Against Drunk Driving and you do and I was like, do we just not do those? Maybe it's like just not a thing that we do anymore.
It's just not here. It's happening. I mean, I've participated in multiple ones, and it hasn't.
Yeah, it's just interesting because I was
here.
talking about it with someone in the community recently.
My ears were ringing, so we no, it's a really great learning opportunity for students and staff to see the dangers of that as law enforcement and former law enforcement we deal with daily, right? So we don't want to see one of our families impacted by that in our community if we can avoid it. We want to add some more Stop the Bleed to our secondary health courses. I already get into one course, like a nursing class in high school, and we actually got them all certified in Stop the Bleed, which is fantastic. They can walk away with something if they graduate and have something to put on their resume. And then ongoing work on emergency response protocols, so always improving. If we don't make improvements, and we're stale and we're doing something wrong. So we're never perfect. There's always room for improvement, whether it's a small tweak or a big change.
Not sure how I'm gonna follow that, but here we go.
Just talk less. You'll be fine.
I'm gonna try. All right, what's that again? Okay, so I started here in June. I was lucky enough to have a tiny bit of overlap with Asher, who was before me. I actually worked with Asher for 10 years in Wanakee, so it was a pretty great handoff between the two. He's still an excellent resource for me, which has been great because there is a lot of information to learn in this role, as I am discovering. So, and just kind of a lot of projects ongoing. So some of the things in June, it was as they say, kind of like water through a fire hose. So getting to know the schools, the security systems that are already in place, and then like all of the vendors and the people that go along with them. There is a lot there. Meeting my public safety partners, police, fire, EMS. As you can see, you guys have an excellent team here. It's been awesome to come into this district with the people that you already have in place is really great. I've taken a ton of trainings in the last 2 months, both for those protocols, both in response protocols and reunification. Those have been kind of things that I'm focusing on. And those are trainings that I had definitely had from the law enforcement side previously in my last role, and now I'm just looking through them in a completely different lens in the school side. So, but at least I have a lot of familiarity there, so that's been helpful. July was kind of a lot of deep diving into the projects that we kind of already had ongoing, picking up kind of where Asher left off and really kind of kicking things into high gear because there's plenty to do. You know, Go Guardian, kind of we talked about our device monitoring. That's kind of a priority of mine. Reunification plan, getting that off the ground. We got to have a way to get our kids home after an incident happens in our schools. And so getting those plans put in place. Working on getting our vestibule secure is another kind of priority for me. And so those kind of things are all in the works, if you will. So next would be, next steps for me. Again, reunification is a big one. It's a beast. It's huge. There's a ton of moving parts. So we've started meeting monthly now with our district reunification team so we can really like get this moving forward. So we're getting a lot of progress there and just working with our reunification site to kind of get our plan locked into place. And then what technology do we already have that we can implement into that to make this work really well. So we're working on that with school rapidly approaching. We're getting those crisis response plans for each school put into place. So I'm meeting with each admin in each school, going through them and making sure that they're ready to go. And then the staff trainings are important to me. That's a big one for me. Like our staff are the ones that are there when something happens first. As much as they like to be first responders in that incident, they're a second, right? Our teachers are the ones. So we want to make sure that they have all the information that they need and they feel empowered to make the decisions for our kids to keep them safe. So that's a goal of mine going forward with those staff safety trainings. So, and again, lots of trainings, specifically threat evaluation trainings. BTAM is something you guys already have here, so that's great. It's not something that needs to be implemented. You guys have it. So taking those trainings and moving all of those projects forward is kind of the things I've been working on in the 2 months I've been here. So.
Questions? Yeah, Janice.
When you say reunification site, do you mean like if a school has to be evacuated where everyone goes to?
Correct.
Like,
yep.
So do we have, like?
We do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Philip.
This may be a question only for Officer Wunsch since you've been here for a while, but I'm curious, anyone can answer, but I'm curious, beyond the snapshot for this year, any trends or any more directional things that you're aware of that you have observed that would be interesting to share, worth sharing?
You mean like current things that are trending in the schools?
Yeah, like this year versus last year versus the year before. Are you seeing anything shifting, changing in good ways, concerning ways?
I would say we've had a lot of technology concerns, whether that be somebody making a non-serious comment that could be interpreted as a threat, or looking at things they shouldn't be looking at, or researching things they shouldn't be researching. Just the access to technology, whether it be in school, out of school, at home, on the weekends, on a holiday. Like, kids are in their phones or their computers 24/7. I can say that because I have a 16-year-old that does the same thing. So trying to, I guess, stay on top of that trend, and it's not just Monona, right, or Cottage Grove, it's everywhere. Every school district is dealing with it, and how to monitor that and kind of stay ahead of it, and what the responsibilities are for the school district in dealing with that. So it's easy for somebody to say something or do something behind a screen when it isn't face-to-face, right? So people get a little bit more abrasive when they're behind technology. So just trying to stay ahead of that would be kind of the, like, I guess, focal point of this year.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks.
I really appreciated, Officer Z, you're talking about how you engage with the sixth graders around, like, what sounds like digital literacy, right? And just being smart online. And I wonder, as we move forward, kind of curricular-wise, and, we can talk about this in TLE too, sort of what opportunities there are to continue on that, and also to educate families around that too, so that, because parents are gonna wanna try to monitor and keep on top of it as well.
I think some of that goes to our communication, more open lines with families. So some of that communication will hopefully be coming from us or in assistance with us about, like, here's how not to let your child use their phone. Let's set up some parameters. Like, here's some parental controls. Here's some apps that might not be being used for what you think they're being used for, right? Like, some kind of community outreach in that regard is something that we've got coming down the pipeline that we would like to implement. So just give that educational piece to the parents as well.
Yeah, that would be really welcome. I also want to say thank you so much for not just the work that you do with students when you have kind of like direct student contacts, but just this idea of you being ever-present people in kids' lives. I didn't fully appreciate how true that was until this year. There was some incident, Winnequa, I don't know, and you know how it goes, like rumors going, kids are going, parents are talking, whatever else, and my son came home and he's like, oh, and this, and I heard this. Then the police came, and I said to him, I go, well, do you know which police it was? And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, it was Officer Luke. And he goes, oh, like well, that doesn't count, right? Which to me is like, I know you, I see you as a safe person, and also like, that's not a big scary thing. It's like, oh yeah, of course Officer Luke's gonna talk to people because that's what he did. And so I feel like that is such a testament to that just ever-present nature that you all are having to make sure that our youth are safe and feeling seen. And so thank you for all the work that you do, and welcome aboard. We're glad to have you.
We're gonna get her out in the schools too.
Yep. Come on down.
Them a lot.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Next up, the building capacity report.
Yes. So in 2024, in the fall, when we built the enrollment forecast, 5-year forecast, and we compared it to the capacity study that we had in place from 2015 and 2017, we noticed that there was a significant gap in forecasted enrollment versus our capacity. And at that time, the board wanted us to update capacity to ensure that we had the correct numbers. And so we did that. We asked Epstein-Ewan, who did the original study, to come in and update those numbers for us. And so we have Kim Frederick here from Epstein-Ewan, and she will go through that report, and then we'll get into the enrollment forecast compared to the capacity and have a discussion from there.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Am I sharing screen, Kristen, or will someone on the board do that?
Yeah.
I can work
Yep.
either way.
Tish will share.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Which one?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Open the, actually, Kim, maybe you should share your screen.
I sure
That would
can.
probably- there's a lot of attachments.
There's about 12 attachments in our board docs right now, so.
No problem. Let's see. Hopefully, I'll grab the correct screen. Theoretically, you see a slideshow?
We do.
Okay. So again, my name is Kim Frericks. I'm a design architect and educational planner with EUA, Epstein-Ewan. I just have a couple of slides to share with you tonight. I already shared this with the F&O committee a couple weeks ago, so it'll be repeat for some of you, so bear with me. So I'm first going to talk a little bit about how we calculate building capacity. It's something that seems like it should be relatively straightforward and sort of unchanging, you know, number of students per classroom times number of classrooms equals your capacity, right? There's a little bit more to it than that. So a couple of factors is that capacity is not a static number for your buildings. Even if the building itself hasn't changed, oftentimes operational changes could affect capacity, what sort of classes you're offering, if there are changes in staffing ratios, or if you have different grades being served at a particular building than were served the last time you looked at capacity, the numbers may not be accurate. So it is good practice every once in a while when you have changes in your district to sort of revisit this capacity question. So we based our numbers on the district recommended class size guidelines. So you'll see that there are ranges that differ as the grade levels change. And then when we get into middle and high school, we have some elective courses that come into play, which also have different class size recommendations. So we typically will base our numbers on the higher end of your ranges, but then we apply what we call a functional capacity multiplier to those maximums, which should bring the total calculation a little bit more in line with your preferred class size, which is not typically the maximum. And we do this because, you know, like a posted capacity of a chair or a bridge or something, the weight that's listed is not kind of the point of failure. It's the comfortable operating capacity. So that is essentially what the functional capacity is. It gives you that buffer space to still serve students above functional capacity. It just might not be as comfortable. Class sizes might be a little higher than your goals, but you can still serve students above that functional. It's just not the goal. So we typically will apply a 90% multiplier at elementary and sometimes middle schools. Those are relatively predictable schedules. You know, students are generally assigned to a core classroom, and then they all travel to specials as a group, so there's not a lot of variability, and we use a higher multiplier. When we get to high schools, and again, sometimes middle schools, we reduce that functional capacity multiplier just to account for more diverse schedules of older students. There's greater course offerings, and it's less predictable, so that leads to a lower multiplier. So when I show you the graph on the next slide, the district recommended class size column is really the primary capacity number that we would follow. It's how you operate your buildings, but we do perform some additional calculations that are based on kind of the physical sizes of your classrooms themselves, kind of the individual learning spaces, as well as building as a whole, called a gross building multiplier or gross building capacity. And those kind of cross-check numbers, when they're really out of line with the class size capacity, tells us whether or not either learning spaces are too large or too small, or if support spaces within your buildings like circulation, cafeterias, libraries, etc., if those are too large or too small. So that's a lot of the how we got there. And the next slide shows you a couple of different graphs that essentially show the capacity of your schools versus your enrollment from last year. So the general takeaway is that at most of your schools, your current enrollment is below the desired functional capacity. Winnequa is kind of the outlier, which is essentially at functional capacity. And then the additional calculations that I mentioned, kind of those cross checks, indicate that the high school, the Glacial Drumlin School, and Winnequa may have undersized common spaces, circulation spaces, or support spaces. And the opposite relationship was true at Granite Ridge, where their gross building capacity is actually higher than the school board goal capacity. And that can be accounted for in the fact that Granite Ridge was designed to accommodate some classroom additions in the future, and the building was sized based on that ultimate potential capacity. So that is essentially what I have for you. I can open it up to questions.
Questions? I don't think we have any about this particular report. Rochelle?
Well, I was going to say, since I'm on F&O, we went through this quite extensively with the committee and the community members. So we've been with it for a little while, but I don't know how the other people feel about seeing it if they weren't at the committee meeting.
Oh, I did want to add one note based on a question we got at the committee. There was a comment about the middle school. I mentioned that sometimes that factor can go one way or another depending on how you're operating the school. So when I ran the initial calculations, you were operating more on an elementary school model where a whole grade level would go to specials at one time. And that gave you a capacity of 1,037. I did do a little double checking on what if we factored it the other way and counted all of your specials classrooms, but did that lower multiplier. There was a delta of about 150 students, so that capacity could be 1186 if you were operating on more of a true middle school
model,
high school schedule. So just wanted to add that note.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other questions about the capacity study, I can go into the capacity versus our projected enrollment.
Yes, because I think that to me is the meat of the conversation.
Sure. So there's an attachment that is a summary of the enrollment and capacity, and it's looking at our enrollment projected to 2930. And actually our enrollment overall is lower than enrollment today because we have 534 open enrollment students in this in 24-25, and we are moving strategically to filling open seats rather than filling classrooms. And so over time, the number of open enrollment students will be reduced to 153 that you see on here. So we will continue to fill open seats. We're not saying that we're not going to have open enrollment, but it is strategically something that we want to do to fill those open seats. So looking at our projected enrollment for 29-30, we're looking at a total of 3,328 students, and we have capacity for over 4,700. So we really have a full, almost a high school worth of capacity overall within our buildings. So this is looking at it from the overall summary. I also have a document that's looking at it from a building by building. If you wanted to see, that's the other document, that one. Yeah. So looking at each school, and I won't go through all of these unless you want me to, I can show you that in 24-25, for example, Taylor Prairie, we had 264 students, 46 open enrollment students, and you'll see over time what that progression is into 29-30. So 264 students to 224. It's not saying that we're not growing from a resident capacity. It's saying that we're really right. So and that building itself is under capacity by about 122 students. So that is done by each school. You'll see the advancement rate. That means what students stay when they progress from grade level to grade level, and that is used to build the formula out to the projections that you see. So this is just more detailed for you by building, and it does include MG21, which was not included in the capacity study itself. That's why the numbers towards the bottom total on the screen are higher than that of the Epstein UN study. But you'll see in 24-25, we had 534 open enrollment students, and year by year, you'll see that reduce. We're moving forward open enrollment students that are currently in our system, but then not opening seats unless we have available seats.
Clarification on current open enrollment students. So we have not as a board discussed, but I'm curious if you all have discussed any potential of moving students who are open enrolled in one building, like mainly Winnequa, because it's close to at capacity, and moving them to a Cottage Grove Elementary instead.
That's certainly a strategy that the board can discuss, obviously disruptive potentially
it's
for
incredibly
families.
disruptive, yeah.
But I think as we progress, there becomes, like by 26-27, if you look at Winnequa, we're at 602 in 24-25. We go down to 574, 560. We get more breathing room within that building as we progress. So I don't know that it's necessary in the next couple of years to make any of those shifts, but certainly a conversation.
Yeah, that's helpful. And certainly if the board would want to entertain that conversation, we can. I have received some correspondence from open enrolled families around concerns about, while we're talking about capacity and while we're talking about open enrollment and potentially being more strategic, what that means for them and their families, particularly as their kids continue to move through our system. Yeah, Stephanie.
I just have a quick question, and maybe I missed it at FNO. Looking at some of the maps that were drawn up on that really comprehensive report that was done back in 2017, it looked at anticipated growth in Cottage Grove. And looking at them now, I'm realizing that some of the massive apartment complexes that we have put up since then were not even anticipated on here. So all of those complexes that are down at Gaston and essentially from 1120 Windsor all the way down to Gaston Road, none of that is listed as anticipated growth. So how do those numbers factor into this? Because those are pretty high occupancy buildings.
Right. We're in close communication with the village and have conversations with them about what they anticipate in terms of students. And at this point, we feel comfortable with the projections we have. Even if we look at this year's, even if we continue our strategy with, filling open seats for open enrollment, and right now we have room within our capacity. So I think if for some reason, there's more students, we have already within our system enough space.
This is just one piece of the puzzle, essentially.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Philip.
Stephanie, just to follow up on your question, the apartment buildings, because I'm not as familiar with Cottage Grove, that were not accounted for in the 2017 study, when did they open, or when did they, start filling with residents? Do you know?
Look at our police chief. What has it been? 6 years? 5 years? Yeah.
It was like right after
They're
COVID.
they're fairly new. They
Yeah.
all went up around the same time.
Because I guess what I'm wondering is if they've been around long enough to try to understand what the missing impact was. Was there a demonstrable impact, of those buildings that they weren't included in the 2017 projections? They've been around for 6 years. Is there an obvious spike in Cottage Grove enrollment that we were not expecting based on 2017? Or if they've had a relatively silent impact, and that'd be curious as well.
Yeah, it depends on, when they moved in, did they have littles or did they have, what age were their children when they moved in, and that, fluctuates. So we could certainly look at addresses within Infinite Campus to see how many students are coming from those.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting data point, because I know sometimes we see big apartment projects. There's one in Monona right now going up, and if we had some historical data on when a project like this takes place, we generally see X. This might be an interesting, way to kind of look
Agreed.
into that a little bit.
Because I do note that it does have the complex, or at least growth anticipated development right at the four corners, right down here of the apartment complexes,
down.
right over, that is in there. But yeah, 11, it does not appear like 1120 North Windsor or Gaston Road at the north end of town. And there's some pretty significant volume there, so it'd be interesting to see.
It would be good, I think, if we can cross-reference with addresses in Infinite Campus, because I think what you hear, right, is that those are non-family units that don't generate a ton of additional youth. But the extent to which that, we can track that now against real people.
But what you see is the school buses dropping kids off and the kids down there, so it is a different perception. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, statistically, unless you have 3-bedroom apartments, you typically don't get many families, right? It's not, they don't stay. They might be there for a little bit, but they don't stay in there. So it's the 3-bedroom ones that we yield more school-age families.
And I do know there are
some
of those down there.
Yep,
yeah.
some, but not nearly,
not as
most of
many.
them are 2.
It would be interesting to see kind of what that volume looks like in that area.
And a lot of the stuff going in Monona is going to be lofts or 1-bedrooms.
Just since you guys are talking about kind of how our communities are growing or kind of staying still, I've just noticed a lot of homes in Monona for sale too lately, a lot more than what I've seen in the past few years. So it is something to keep an eye on to see if we end up with more young families.
Other questions?
Yeah, for that same remark, it does not appear that they also have predicted growth right outside of Granite Ridge as well, which is going to take place very soon.
Right.
So, and that doesn't appear to be anticipated development either on the map.
Anything else, Kristen, on this?
This is just information for the board. We're looking for, any or no direction on what we want to do with the information regarding the study and the capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we decided to pause reconfiguration, part of what we talked about was restudying it this year against this new information around capacity, which I still think is a good idea to have. And I'm curious, kind of, board, your perspective on that. When we did it the last time, it went through TLE, which we could do that as well. We could do through F&O, we could do it as full board. So what are you thinking in terms of restudying, like we had talked about? Go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, so one thing that came up at the F&O meeting was the notion that we could have a sort of ad hoc F&O committee meeting to specifically discuss this and sort of pie in the sky whiteboard, get all the options out on the table. One of the things that we were hoping to avoid as we discussed this was moving too quickly into one option, right? Or choosing one option and then sort of having a bias for one option. We wanted to start with all of the options, good or bad. Yeah. And one way that we could potentially begin that would be with some sort of ad hoc working meeting of the committee. And then from there, the board could decide if we want to form a specific, ad hoc committee consisting of board members and community members, et cetera, to, continue the discussion once we've sort of established the menu of choices that we would have. That was just one idea that came out of the committee that we wanted to bring to the board as an opportunity.
I think that's definitely a viable idea. I do wonder about the idea of, instead of doing it as an ad hoc committee, if it becomes a board workshop, right?
Yep.
Because I think that this is a really critical decision on a couple of factors, right? So we're looking at building capacity, which obviously cross-cuts through F&O, but then also as we talk about, you know, what's good for kids in terms of minimizing transitions, right? What's good for families and communities, that obviously crosses over TLE too, and there are going to be some policy implications as well. And so I guess my talking out loud now, my preference, although ad hoc committee I think would be more nimble and smaller, it feels to me that this is maybe something that we should discuss kind of full board. All ideas are good ideas, what options are on the table. And then because the other thing that we're going to need to do is, in addition to thinking about which options are viable to think about and test, we also are going to need to develop a process for family and community input and feedback, which to me, we're going to have to do collectively as a board anyway. So I've now talked myself into my idea of perhaps we do it as a working group meeting. Then it's public, you know, I mean, committee meetings are also public too, but it's a little bit more transparent in terms of the public pieces. We'll be able to have that meeting in front of folks. So that's sort of my thought and reaction.
Yeah, I think that would still accomplish what we were talking about in the committee. I think the main point being that we wanted to make sure there was an opportunity to discuss any and all possibilities without bias towards one, right? Before we move to that next step of trying to.
I think this is a very sensitive topic that we have to be very transparent and careful with, making sure that we have a lot of voices at the table, because some of these schools are rooted in neighborhoods and created really truly neighborhood schools. And so making sure that we, you know, that there necessarily doesn't have to be change, right? We need to look at it. What is it if we do? What is it if we don't, right? We're kind of status quo right now. We're not bursting at the seams anywhere, right? We're making improvements in the budget, and let's go do this slowly and purposefully and make sure that we have a lot of input from the people that this is going to affect very directly.
Yeah, well, and how do we make this as student-focused as possible? Because I think, you know, my point of view, and this will not be a surprise to anyone that's on the board, because the 4K2 committee was really important to me, right? In thinking about how do we reduce transitions for our youngest learners, but our elementary age learners in general. How do we develop community schools in a way that feels like you're really rooted in something, right? That you have those opportunities to grow and learn, that families aren't stuck with like, I've got 3 kids across 3 buildings and 3 different schedules. And so, you know, I want us to be able to center the capacity conversation within that conversation around still keeping our mind around like what's best for kids, because for all we know, maybe we can do 4K5 community schools in Cottage Grove, which I think would be an amazing possibility.
There's just a lot of thoughts on this topic. I know that are at least, especially in the Cottage Grove community and the neighborhoods, that people get very nervous about this, about change.
No,
so
I get it. I understand it for sure. Great. So we'll work on scheduling. We should have that meeting probably sooner rather than later. Let's get through the initial beginning of the school year pieces, and then let's take a look at maybe. When's our annual meeting?
September? No, it's at the end.
It's earlier.
15th?
15th.
September 15th.
Let's maybe put what do you all think about shooting for after the annual meeting? I feel like that gets us through after school. That gets you, Kristen, through annual meeting too. And then this will be kind of the next big piece.
End of September.
Yeah, sort of end of September, beginning of October. We'll have a special meeting. And we'll do it separate from a standard board meeting, because I think we're going to need the whole time to sit and discuss. How does that feel to folks?
Good.
Okay, great. We'll kick around some dates with Tish, so check your emails and we'll go from there. Great. All right, anything else on this before we move to Act 12? All right, moving on then to the 2025-2026 Act 12 reporting.
So state statute around Act 12 requires our high schools to come forward with statistics around specific types of incidents that happen on school grounds. So what you see here is what that looks like, and then the report that was filed with DPI per that statute. So if you open the attachment, what you see is the types of things that have to be reported. And we had one incident of burglary, robbery, or theft that met the expectations, and then 2 municipal ordinance of disorderly conduct at the high school this year.
Is this down from last year? It looks down. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Next up is policy update for F&O, first reading on fund balance.
Yeah, so I can take this one. Just give me a second to get back to tonight's agenda. Yeah, so after the discussion in July, we took this back to committee, and you may recall there were a couple of points that I think everyone agreed on a direction that we wanted to go. So the difference between this and what we presented last time is relatively minor. So I'll draw your attention to where it says option number 1. We added the word unassigned. So instead of just the Fund 10 fund balance shall not be below 15%, the Fund 10 unassigned fund balance shall not be below 15%. And we felt that was important because unassigned funds are really the funds that matter when it comes to keeping that healthy fund balance in place for the reasons stated at the top of the policy. So we wanted to have particular clarity around the idea that it's not just good enough to have 15%, it can't be 15% where half of it's committed to a building project or something like that. And then the other change was towards the end of the policy, we added language that in addition to the superintendent also compels the deputy superintendent to notify the board in the event that there is anything unexpected with fund balance. So we wanted to have sort of that dual responsibility spelled out in the policy. So those are really the only 2 changes from the first read, and that's why this is back for first read, because of those changes. And that's the explanation behind them.
Great. And this all feels very much in line with the conversation that we had last meeting. Yeah, Janice.
It totally does. I just have a question. So like how is our fund balance like in the past? Like, did we have a lot of assigned money? Do you know what I mean? Like if we needed to have 15% and we're now saying it needs to be unassigned, did we have a lot of assigned money in the fund balance previous to this?
Yeah, so technically the language did previously stipulate unassigned, but it was slightly more vague. And this clause that we're adding didn't have the word unassigned, and so we wanted to make sure that got included. But if you look at the paragraph immediately preceding that, it does say we'll maintain an unassigned year-end fund balance in the general fund. So it was partly just for consistency, but also just to make sure that we were being as specific as we could be. So yeah, I believe in the past the reports always indicated that it was unassigned.
Yeah, we have, the majority of our fund balance is unassigned right now. We do have a small amount that's restricted for common school funds. We're required to do that, so we don't have any funds right now set aside in other areas. I will bring forward to F&O in August the designations for the 24-25 school year and the recommendation. It will likely be unassigned because we're not at that 15%, but that would be the process annually, is to bring that forward to F&O and have either F&O, typically I'm used to F&O approving that, but if considering our financial situation, we want to move that to the board, that's something that we can do too.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend kind of how we've been doing everything thus far, right? Which is bringing it through F&O, and then when you feel like it's ready for full board discussion, then bring it forward to the board. It's been a good process, I think. Great. Any other questions about this one? Yes, Janice?
Just, at the very beginning, the first bit of green, the Fund 10 fund balance shall be made at a level sufficient. Should the word "to" be after that? For A, B, and C? Like, are we missing a word? Or no?
Yes, there should be a
Okay.
to minimize, to cover, to
Okay.
demonstrate. So, you make a note of that, Kristen.
Tish got it.
Thank you, Tish. Any other questions? So just a reminder for how policy works. So for first read, if you decide that you have some adjustments that you want to make, then put those adjustments in writing to the chair of the committee, which in this case would be Philip, with the exception of the two, which we have noted in the meeting, which will be added. But anything else comes up, email it to Philip. All right, next up on our agenda are informational items by discussion only. We will start with current enrollment update. We should be getting pretty close to.
We're getting so close.
Accurate, right?
Yep, we're getting close. So after the last board meeting, we did move forward with adding a section of 4K at Winnequa and at Taylor Prairie. And then we did reduce a section of 5K at Taylor Prairie and move that teacher to first grade, third grade. First grade, third grade, third grade.
It's third, right?
Yep. Well, she ended up in first grade. Where they ended up. So we had, it was two, that class size was over. So we did make those adjustments. And so you can see that those class sizes are in alignment. And we feel pretty good about where we're at for suggested ranges. We're not making any recommended changes at this time. And we also have high school course enrollment for you there also.
How are we looking at Winnequa? Sorry, how is fourth grade at Winnequa looking? That's the other one
Stagnant.
we're watching right now,
Just
right?
Still sitting there.
Okay. Okay. That's the other one that's been on the major
Yeah,
watch list,
just
right?
watching, but I think from the in conversation with administration at the building, it felt like that could still sit and watch. There's quite a few adults that already support those classrooms. So we were able to rectify some of the other places that had gone red. Were over the top of the end.
Okay, great. Questions about this at all? Okay, moving on to committee. I'll just give you all a quick update. Personnel met yesterday. I encourage you to go take a look at those pieces. We talked through a couple of things, but I think the most important thing that I wanted to share with you all that I'm hoping you take a look at is we had our initial conversation about what the scorecard is going to be for personnel, so the things we're trying to keep track on for the year. So I would really appreciate if you all took a look at that. And if you had any questions or feedback or wonderings about things, please let me know, and then we can discuss it. Philip, do you have anything else with F&O apart from policy?
No, really the important stuff that we talked about at F&O was at the board meeting tonight. So, yeah, nothing to add.
Susan?
No, I don't have anything to add. Basically, MGE&F met July 8th, and I reported that out at the July 8th meeting. And their next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, August 19th, which is they have scheduled the meeting in direct conflict with teaching, learning, and equity. So, and again, I don't know if that's going to cause a problem for Tanya as well. We can talk about that, but I have no report.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I do want to say that Jason McCutcheon has submitted his resignation as the executive director. Him and his family are relocating to Beaver Dam for his job. And so at the August meeting, they will be doing some restructuring of officers. So just really appreciative for all of his years of service and his enthusiasm and energy to get things done. He's been a great asset to the community. So we wish him well and thank him for all of his years of service.
Great. All right. Superintendent report.
Lots going on this summer. We are excited to announce that we finished our first 3 days of our continuous improvement process, which is called SAIL, which is short for School Administrators Institute for Transformational Leadership. We had about 100 educators there. 6 of our buildings, MG21 did not participate. They're using a different process, but all of our other schools were there with leadership teams and teachers, and then district office also had a team, really coming up with digging deep into our data and making some continuous improvement plans, and it's used a 100-day cycle that you look at. So we'll be bringing those every 100 days to the district level one, to the teaching and learning and equity committee. So we're excited to be bringing that forward to continue to think about how we monitor academic progress for kids. Today we met with Nelson's Bus Company with all of our principals to talk a little bit about how we launched the school year. So that was great, trying to be proactive and think about how we continue to just have that safe and positive environment for kids and relationship. New educators starts next week, so we have about 25 new educators that we'll be welcoming to the district. We do have breakfast on August 21st at 7:45 at the high school. The board is welcome to attend and meet some of those new hires. So that's 3 great days that are jam-filled by them, for them. Back to school tradition, back to school breakfast will continue to happen. It will be at the high school. Elizabeth, Tim Gollop, and I will do just a short welcome, and then we'll have students that are going to be coming and speaking as we really kick off the school year about what they're looking forward to and what they hope to see from their school experience. So that will be a good opportunity. Back to school information, if you didn't get it as a parent, wanted to put it in here, we're super excited about the information and strategy office. So Katie Burns-Kaiser and her team putting together this one-stop shop resource for back to school that covers all kinds of things. So it's quite beautiful. So check that out. Annual notices are cleaned up and posted and out there. Tish worked diligently on that with her team to get those out there, so we are compliant with that. CISA 6 has a educator effectiveness model called the STRONG model. We've had lots of conversations with our teachers and principals about how they feel about our current educator effectiveness system and feeling like there's got to be a better way. So building principals have gotten some training on a new model, and they'll be seeking some pilots from tenured teachers that are interested in trying something different to give us some feedback to decide if that's something we want to move forward with. We currently have, we call them oak boxes, but it is overdose aid kits. We have one at the high school. It is a program that was started on, kind of that concept of overdose prevention kits or harm reduction kits are no longer like behind glass doors. And so we'll be installing those in all of our buildings, even our buildings for our youngest students. Not necessarily for our kids, but thinking about, we have a lot of families that are there and our buildings are used a ton by the community. So continuing to make sure that we have those resources. They will do training for staff that are in those back to school days. And the last thing, or not second to last thing, we did get some outreach based on some of the things that have happened in the broader community around licensing compliance for our educators. So just sharing here what we had also shared with our open records request. Last year we had 100% compliance on our licensed teacher report. This year, as of 9 a.m. on August 7th, when we pulled this data, we had 2%, which is 7 educators who are in licensure process. And you can see the breakdown of where those are at. So not uncommon this time of year for brand new to the profession educators to still be trying to get their endorsements in and get all their paperwork. And then we do have some that are moving from provisional license to fully licensed, lifetime license. It's a lot of hoops to jump through. And so the Human Resource Officer's office does a great job of trying to prompt that along, but sometimes I think there's one person that works at DPI in the licensure department, but we'll continue to be on that, making sure that our teachers are fully licensed by the start of the school year.
I think there are 3.
Okay, sorry.
For the whole state, so.
Exactly, but sometimes it feels like one.
And this is the time of year where everybody's trying to get all of their stuff pushed through.
Yep, but I think it's important for our community to know how we look at that. And lastly, Granite Ridge was selected to be a NAEP school this year. So a little bit more testing for our fourth grade students. Yes, it is not a bad thing. So they'll, somewhere between January 26th and March 20th, they'll take a reading and math assessment for the nation's report card. So, any questions?
Questions for Tanya? I have one, not about this report, but in regards to public comment today. We've also been receiving some emails around screen time and those pieces. And I feel like when we met last month, but correct me if I'm wrong, we had talked about, TLE studying that. So I just wanted to confirm.
Yep, I've already emailed them, and we're talking about when we can add it.
Great.
Yeah, so I think what the well, you guys have talked about it in agenda planning, but the thought is that in September they would bring a plan for us to do some studying. Really trying to, we have a pretty good handle on what kids access for instructional technology, but some of the other things we have some opportunities to do some walkthroughs, get some surveys from teachers, really look at what some of those other times look like. I think, obviously there is truth into the comments that were made. Prevalence of it, I'm not sure. Yes, TVs get used during indoor recess for inclement weather. That is solely to keep the head injuries down, because the health room comes a hop in place during those times. Those should be few and far between. There are times. Our cafeterias don't have TVs in them, so what that looks like and how that's happening, those are things to investigate. So putting together a protocol probably take about 2 months to get through that and gain some information about passive and active screen time that's happening outside of instruction, to hopefully come back to teaching and learning in November with, here's kind of what we found and here's our recommended next steps.
That sounds great. I would also be curious, and maybe when you talk with Rob and Angie. So the comment that was made during public comment around board member likened them to likened our smart boards, chalkboards. Spoiler alert, that was me. That's what I said. Because to me, that's when I've seen them utilized like that, right? They've got the learning objectives on or whatever. Janice, you could probably speak to this more. And the question is whether or not, to me, this feels like a philosophical question, right? Like it's a screen that's on. To what extent does that matter for student learning? And so I would be curious, their perspective on that too. Yeah, Janice.
So I would actually like to just have a comment, which is, when I was teaching, so we didn't have a screen, but we did have a computer that projected up onto a screen, and I would write the day's lesson plan and put it up there, but there weren't like videos going on, or there weren't like movies being shown, and there wasn't a game going on. Like sometimes it literally just is, this is what we're doing today, and it's like a Word doc. It's not, but it's like Google Slides. And so there are times that it is just, here's our lesson plan, but then like I would be able to flip through it and go, and here's the warm-up we're doing today, and that would come up on the screen for everybody to see. Or, here's like materials I'm gonna use in class, but it wasn't the, entertaining videos. So it can be used in a multitude of ways. So it's not just a chalkboard, but in some ways it's better than, back in the day when I started teaching, you had the overhead projector,
And you wrote on them.
and you had to write on the overhead. So anyway,
Try being a left-handed person with an overhead projector.
Oh. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in our CKLA curriculum, there is a digital component to it. That is up a lot. The story that they're reading's up a lot. You'll be in classrooms and you'll see they'll be doing brain movement breaks, and it's a catchy, fun little video that is about breathing or,
I already told Sue, don't take my Go Noodle away.
Exactly. Yes, that kind of thing.
I already told her.
I think though, having worked in different schools, I've noticed over time that we've gotten kind of dependent on having our screens around and using it because it is something that is kind of new and clever and fun, and before we know it, we aren't reading ourselves because we didn't have the book, and so we are putting up a video of somebody else reading it. And I feel like those are opportunities to just take a beat and recognize, is this the best way? And using smart boards is, it's wonderful to have everything organized and prepared, so you're not having to physically write on the board and erase, or have your overhead where you're trying to find your overhead, I don't know, your photocopy, your transparency, yeah, where the, so I mean, I think there's some really great advantages, but I think we've also gotten very comfortable with, well, if that's what the other, you know, even especially with new teachers coming in and then them hearing from other teachers of the same grade level saying, well, this is what we do for indoor recess. We put on a video. I know from, now art is different because I don't use a lot of tech with what I do, but there are lots of opportunities for centers and other things like that that are really exciting for kids and hands-on, and just be another opportunity for us to just shift just a slight bit from maybe where we're at.
Yeah, just one more comment, and that's, I heard a lot of concern about like the times that aren't classroom times where technology is being used, and I will say, once we gave kids their own device, like when I walked through the cafeteria in the morning, kids would be like on their Chromebook instead of like socializing with one another. So like those kinds of times, I think it, you know, there is definitely a way to make school more human again, where like, you know, there is definitely a way of doing that.
Yeah, I agree with both of your sentiments there. And I love Go Noodle. It's fun. I think it has its place. But I also think that also the teacher leading the movement activity and that back and forth and watching the teacher do something silly and you copy them versus we're doing it and watching the screen as it does it. And I know we don't have TVs in all of our cafeterias, but I do know that, you know, we've talked about this, right? Where there's distractions in lunch and movies, and there's always exceptions, right? Our kids go to state basketball or whatever, and they want to watch them during lunch. That's great, but on everyday lunch, we shouldn't be having cartoons playing in the background, or you know. And I absolutely agree with Janice that they're there, and so if I'm done doing my homework, I'm just going to start playing on something else instead of talking with my friend. So.
I think that's right, and I think your point, Rochelle, too, around, you know, this has become the first choice or the first go-to. I even think about indoor recess, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, logically, you're like, oh, of course you put a movie on indoor recess. But it's like, well, there was a time in which that was not what you did at indoor recess, right? You played games or whatever. So I think what would be interesting, and I'm glad to hear they're going to come to TLE with a plan and think about kind of, let's sort of study the extent of technology use. Let's get some really clear definitions about what is instructional versus non-instructional, how we're utilizing things for rewards. And then I think this is a good place for board governance around what is our Monona Grove School District's philosophy around technology use in school, right? Are we a tech-first district? Are we a relationship-first district? And what does that mean? And I think all of those pathways are potentially viable, but I think we need an articulated philosophy or point of view from the board perspective, which then Tanya, administrators, right, can then say, look, the first step is to, let's say we say, the first step is to think of a non-tech solution, you know, or whatever that philosophy is. But I think that really is on us to kind of lead that space too, once we have a better understanding of the full scope of what we're talking about. Other thoughts on this or anything Tanya reported today? Yes, Philip.
No.
Oh, sorry, you look like you were gonna.
Exactly, right.
Oh, well, superintendent report, and it was nothing. It's all good. All right, anything else for Tanya? Great. Well, future meeting dates are there. Like Tanya said, the new teacher meeting dates and opening day for teachers. Please come. I actually will be traveling for work, but I'll work with Katie on how to navigate that. But yes, please come. It was really fun last year. Yes.
Please let me know if you're coming so I can notice.
Oh. If you're coming to opening day on the 21st, or if you're coming to new teacher, if there's more than two.
I know some of you have replied to the calendar invite. If you haven't, please do, and I can notice.
Yeah, but let Tish know, because if there's more than two of us, she has to notice it. Yes.
4 inches. Yes.
So again, I just wanted to clarify, we've already been invited to the new teachers'
Yes.
breakfast. And
Not yet to the opening day.
Yeah.
Not to the opening one. And I was going to ask about that after the meeting, because usually, again, that's an event that.
Yeah, it's the
board members-
21st, Susan.
Great.
At 7:45. So let Tish know if you're able to be there. I will not be there, but I will be there in spirit. All right. I would love a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'll move we adjourn.
I second.
I'm doing a vote even though I don't have to. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it. Meeting's adjourned at 9:16. Thanks, everybody.